We about to get it in. Before I begin, if you got one of these, this would be a good time to get it. If you got one of these, for those of y'all that been rocking with me for a minute, if you got one of these, this would be a good time to go grab it. And if you don't have one of these, they go to the name right there. Charles FILLMORE, Metaphysical Power Dictionary. It's a good book to have on your journey. I don't want to try to be long, but I'm gonna take as much time needed to get what want to come through, because a lot of the talked about 4 or 5 different people. I don't want to call them clients. I talked to 4 or 5 different people today, and all of them pretty much told me that they're experiencing what seemed like the same thing, and that's attack. No matter how good their intentions, no matter how much, damn, some don't want me. We in Mercury retrograde though too. But no matter how good their intentions, no matter how good their actions, you know, their character and conduct, it seems like things, negativity, or opposition, polarity, keeps coming at them. And I said it's supposed to, but more so, the concern was attack from people. And my response was the same. It's supposed to. We're in wintertime, you know, and spiritually it's known as the winter arc, you know, and that's a big thing right now. I don't really know why, because we should be wanting to be in the God arc, you know, but we're in wintertime, so decay occurs in the winter. Things fall away in the winter, so it can be renewed. So as things fall away, the masks, the false identities, so forth and so on, people gonna try to grasp at anything they can to save their face. So those of us who doing this self-work, who doing this shadow work, doing this self-improving, you know, clearing our etheric body, clearing our mental body, clearing our emotional body, clearing our physical body, clearing our karmic body, and clearing our etheric body, you know. I think that was all 7, you know. It's irritating to those who not. In other words, are like irritating demons, you know. People demons. I ain't gonna call people demons, but our light is irritating the demons in people, or the shadow self in people, you know. So don't let what the Pharisees doing concerning your elevation distract you from continuing to do what you're doing. And I use the term Pharisees. See, in Jesus' time, they was called Pharisees, but in our times they call haters, they call trolls, and whatever other names that we using. But that's why I said go get this, cause I'm gonna show y'all how to see. I'm gonna show y'all how to see what's not seen through what's seen. You know, see, I say a lot of things that come from a lot of higher teachings through things that I have learned. So most times it's over people's head. You know, so the worst thing you could do is repeat something that you don't know the meaning to. You know, because eventually somebody that know how to ask questions gonna catch you out there through a question. You hear me? But Pharisees, and it's kind of lengthy, so I'm gonna try to be brief. But and the Pharisees, if you're familiar with the Bible, that's why I showed y'all the book in the beginning. You know, it's good to have one of these if you're a Christian. You know, I don't have no problem with Christians. You know, I utilize the Bible through my studies too. And what's funny about that is that a Christian will attack me due to their understanding of the Bible before I will ever attack a Christian, because of my understanding and overstanding of the Bible. And I'm about to demonstrate exactly what I mean by that through what I'm gonna share tonight. If you ain't got your pen and pad, you can get that too, because I'm gonna speak to you. But Pharisees, Greek from Hebrew, separatist. A Pharisee is a separatist, meaning the meaning is separatist, but you can see this in people characteristics in the things that said: separated, distinct, accurate, literalist, and separating word for word. So a Pharisee is the type of person that would try to pick you apart for picking you apart, say, not to really get nothing out of it, but just to pick you apart, to get them some kind of self glorification for whatever reason. But this ain't for personal glory. You hear me? Metaphysical meaning of the Pharisee. In Matthew 12:24, were the religiously educated of Jesus' day, and to their minds, all who claimed to do the works of the Lord were spurious unless they were members of the Pharisee cult. So what that's saying is, a Pharisee is like these modern day church people, that anything outside the church that profess to do God work, like I profess to do God work through my demonstrations, they'll call it everything other than it is. Evil, the devil, so forth and so on. We all don't ran into these type of people before. If we don't ran into these type of people before, but let's get into it. They were the religiously educated of Jesus' day, and in their minds, all who claimed to do the works of the Lord were blasphemous unless they were members of the Pharisee cult, or unless they was members of the church. No matter how good the work of the outsider, no matter how good, no matter what your intentions, no matter what our intentions, my intentions, you see, the Pharisee will always attribute it to an evil power. Watch out for them Pharisees. In individual consciousness, Pharisees represent thoughts, not people, but thoughts. You can see it in people. The Pharisees represent thoughts that arise out of the subconscious, binding man to external forms. You hear me? To external forms of religion, of things, without giving him understanding of their real meaning. So to use this cup as a demonstration, this cup don't hold no value without knowing the materials, that it took to bring this cup into manifestation. And then to go beyond that, the idea for the cup to be thought of, which was the original manifestation before it became a physical one. Y'all walk with me. That can't. You can see that you can see what I just read in demonstration in John 3:1. The Pharisees, the religious thoughts pertaining to the realm of form, do not know the truth. Comes into expression in the consciousness through understanding. The Pharisees, or the religious thoughts pertaining to the realm of form, pertaining to the realm of materiality, does not know the truth. Does not know that truth comes into expression in the consciousness through understanding. They seek a sign in the external realm, No sign of the presence of Christ can be given to the Pharisaical state of mind, for the things of spirit are spiritually discerned. Mark 8:11 through 12. In Mark 7:8, the Pharisees represent the state of consciousness that is concerned with the formalities and customs. Y'all pardon me for a minute. I don't know what I got. I don't think. Okay, I'm gonna keep rocking. In Mark 7:1, the Pharisees represent the state of consciousness that is concerned with the formalities and customs of the external realm. The scribes represent fixed ideas built up in consciousness through one's adhering to tradition or superstition. Or super tradition or superstition. So a lot of people, 20, 30 years later, we growed up seeing our grandparents in the church, still repeating tradition and superstition. It ain't did nothing to actually change, bring about a life change, bring about a generational change. Because if they was getting correct teachers, all the churches would be shut down. There wouldn't be no need of none. In Mark 7:2, the disciples of Christ, that is, the thoughts that have been established in the Christ consciousness, became a law to themselves. See, the Pharisee can't see what's not seen through what's seen to speak to it or above it. So they will seek a problem and search. So they will seek a problem, claiming they're looking for a solution. Mark 7:3 and 4, excessive thought relating to the realm of form, relating to the realm of things, leads to narrowness, a narrow mind, bondage, and enslavement. Lack mentality, so forth and so on. The letter killeth, but the spirit gives life. Seeing is believing, people. In Mark 7:5, the unillumined thoughts and consciousness must look to the Christ mind for guidance and instruction. In Mark 7:5, the unillumined thoughts and consciousness must look to the Christ mind for guidance and instruction. Mark 7:6, Isaiah means salvation and is the freeing principle in mind that foreshadows the coming of the Christ and discerns the thoughts that are not established in living substance. See, we're not talking about people. We're talking about different states of consciousness represented in the form of people. Y'all stay with me. In Mark 7:7, the doctrines and precepts of men that have their foundation in personal opinion or traditional custom are profitless. That's why, as I just said earlier, we've been seeing people doing the same thing they've been doing, believing the same thing they've been believing, and it ain't brought no change to their life at all. But the preacher life don't change. The preacher pockets don't change. The preacher ain't living in the same house that he started in. Why this same thing not occurring for the people if they was really being taught what they supposed to be being taught concerning themselves, and not something coming out the sky. Unless it's coming out the sky in the temple of your mind. Let's talk to it. Mark 7:7, the doctrines and precepts of men that have their foundation in personal opinion or traditional custom are profitless. To worship God is to conform to an entirely new principle. See, so this ain't got nothing to do with words as much as it got to do with vibration and frequency, something in the inner being. To worship God is to conform to an entirely new principle and teaching. God is spirit and must be worshipped or must be acknowledged in spirit and truth. Mark 7:8, the commandments of God embody living, harmonious ideas, not separated, distinct, or accurate, or literalist, or separating word from word. The commandments of God embody living, harmonious ideas. The traditional men are only symbols of the real principles and lack the substance. I'm gonna speak to that in this way. When you have it internally, you don't need it. When you have it internally, you don't need it external. That's why many who want to manifest whatever they want to manifest having problems manifesting more of what they don't want than manifesting what they do. Because when you have it internal, you don't need it external. You see, and to have it all is not to need anything. You see, but these are higher teachings, and they take discipline. But stay with me, we're gonna get to it. Mark 7:9. The adverse consciousness in man rejects the Christ. The adverse consciousness, or the Judas consciousness in man rejects the Christ, or the shadow self in man rejects the higher self. Man, in a degree, recognizes that this is so. We all recognize to some degree or other that this is truth. Jesus imparted a life principle direct to the people. Souffle be imparting. See, Souffle be imparting life principles directly to the people through the teachings, and only by keeping the word. See, only by keeping the word, only by knowing the power of the word, only by knowing how to direct the word, you see, can the adverse consciousness, or can the Judas consciousness be overthrown. See, this a treat tonight, you hear me? So y'all show me some love. This a treat tonight, you hear me? Cause how I'm breaking it down, if you got a book, you ain't gonna see it in the book, so you can take how I'm breaking it down and put your notes in the book. You see, wait, yeah, as I'm getting it to you. Mark 7:10. Moses represents the phase of consciousness, not people, not a person, a phase of consciousness represented by a person in order for us to get the picture. Y'all walk with me. Mark 7:10. Moses represents the phase of consciousness that is concerned with the moral law. The moral law. This serves a purpose in disciplining the thoughts, but it's only a preparation for the advent of spiritual law. So it's the same reason why they got stop signs. Don't cross the stop sign. You know, they got traffic lights, red, yellow, and green. You know, red stop, yellow caution, green go. You see, if you can't, we wanna so the moral, so the streets and the stops and the traffic lights, just so it ain't complicated, represent the moral law. You see, so those of us who want to get into spiritual things, you know, spirituality, the spiritual things has laws too. So if we can't obey, if we can't obey the laws according to moral things, how are we going to be able to obey the laws according to spiritual things? See, and a lot of people finding out the consequences of what come with that right now. So y'all stay with me. Let's talk to it. Mark 7:11 through 12. The Pharisaical state of mind casts all responsibilities on God and refuses to do the work. For the creative father-mother principle through which spiritual growth is set into activity. Let me back it up again. Mark 7:11 and 12. The Pharisaical state of mind casts all responsibility on God and refuses to do the work for the creative father-mother. Refusing to do the work for ourselves, the creative father-mother, the generator, the operator, destroyer. You hear me? Through which spiritual growth is set into activity. That's them. So what I just read is a description of them. That's them. God gonna do it. You see, they be crying and complaining about this, that, and the other. But then at the same time, what come out their mouth, that's them God gonna do it kind of people. You know, God gonna take care. God gonna take care of kind of folks. You hear me? And that's a good thing to an extent. Why to an extent? Because faith come with work. See, faith come with work. You see, So those same people, you'll hear them saying that same thing next week. Them same people, you'll hear them saying that same shit next month. Them same people, you'll see them saying, you'll hear them saying that same thing next year. See the hamster wheel, the rabbit hole, whatever you want to call it. Y'all stay with me. Mark 7:13. The word is the seed. Your word is a seed through which increase is rendered to God. Now, if you God and your word is a seed, if you a goddess and your word is a seed, how are you using it? And however you using it, and it's evident in your life. See, y'all stay with me. The word is the seed through which increase is rendered to God. When man fails to use the word, believing that divine law will adjust his consciousness, he renders void the word of God. In other words, your word activates the divine law. So whenever you're in operation of expression, you see, divine law is in motion. Energy is in motion. See, so we talked about a lot of things. See, to teach us and prepare us, you know, and in the past to teach us and prepare us how to be speaking in the present, how to speak life back into life by speaking life into ourselves and over ourselves, you know, in the present. Y'all stay with me. In Luke 8:18-9-14, the Pharisee in consciousness is a selfish state of mind. What is this? What does a Pharisee look like? A person operating in a selfish state of mind produced by the intellect. It is the self-satisfied mental attitude that causes man to lose sight of the real needs of soul and body, and finally results in dissolution of its own false structure, often at the expense of man's body. So it's a lot of pay attention, because if it ain't you, what I'm speaking to, if it ain't you, you're gonna see it. It's a lot of people structures. There's a lot of people foundation. It's a lot of what people thought was gonna be their stability. See, it's being tore down. Not because I say so. See, this is universal. You see, this is universal law and order. Some call it karma. The same way some of us receiving dharma, we on the good end. Some receiving karma. This is the law of operation. These are the universal laws, them comedic principles. Whatever you know it as, this is it in operation. Pay attention to what we will be witnessing. Don't be out here reacting to everything that want a response from you. You hear me? The publican is the spirit of meekness. The publican is the spirit of meekness that opens man to the inflow of cleansing, illuminating truth. The publican. The publican. Y'all remember who Jesus ran up on at the table? They was politicians. Boy. The publican is the spirit of meekness that opens man to the inflow of cleansing and illuminating truth. He that humbleth himself has reference to the crucifixion of personality. See? The crucifixion of personality. That's what the cross was all about. The crucifixion of personality. You see? The lower nature of the ego. The ego, ain't nothing wrong with the ego except the lower nature of it. The ego got a higher nature. One who has crucified or humbled himself is a far off. See, one who has humbled or crucified himself is a far off. So I ain't gonna lower myself. You see, so I ain't gonna lower myself. Y'all get it now? For those who ain't get it before, so I ain't gonna lower myself to meet you in your mess. But that don't mean I can't speak to you from where I'm at. You heard? He that humbled himself has reference to the crucifixion of personality. One who has crucified or humbled himself is far off, but empty and receptive to the love and wisdom of God, while the consciousness is being illumined and the Christ exalted. This way bigger than personal glory. Pharisees are religionists who have become unbalanced through giving undue attention to the forms. See the forms, the dress codes, and the beads and the crystals. Ain't nothing wrong with it. You see, but you can't put it before where the power really lie in at. You see, Pharisees are religionists who have become unbalanced, so we got to be careful. We got to be careful who have become unbalanced through giving undue attention to the forms of religious rites or external rites. Such persons lose sight of the principle back of the symbols. Such persons lose sight of the principle and back of the symbols. You hear me? They go through the motions of one living a spiritual life. Go through the motions, appearing like they that. Niggas ain't that. You hear me? Appearing like they that. They go through the motions of one living a spiritual life, but the living substance is not present. The living substance. You hear me? We about to see a lot. We about to see a lot of old outdated things collapse. We about to see a lot of old outdated people collapse on the internet, in our neighborhoods, in churches, in a whole lot of places, in politics, and all over. Just keep our eyes open. You see, the more we raise up, we causing towers to fall. You hear me? Keep doing the work. In other words, there are more Pharisees, but keep doing the work, because the more you do the work, the fakers will be exposed. See, and because it's necessary that we position ourselves to be placed in our rightful place. Ain't nobody gonna give it to us. You hear me? There are more Pharisees, and this is why. There are more Pharisees today than in the time of Jesus. There's more people. There are more Pharisees today than the time of Jesus. You hear me? But they have changed their symbols. They have changed their disguises. They have changed their tactics. You hear me? I'm showing y'all how to take the mask off. You hear me? Standards of life and action for Christian people have gone through many transformations, but the crystallizations in the realm of forms are found on every side. See, ain't shit changed. You hear me? The omnipresent God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is forgotten, and 10,000 symbols, 10,000 idols of it is worshipped instead. Mark 7:1-13. Denial of world of forms. Be in the world and not of it. Denial of the world of forms specifically and as a whole is the remedy for the Pharisee. So detachment is necessary. Be in the world and not of it. That don't mean we don't connect with people. That don't mean we don't care about people. That don't mean we don't love people. You see. But when you're in a higher understanding of it, when you're in a higher frequency of it, when you're in a higher vibration of it, sometimes you can't love people from the place that they loving themselves from. You see, and the masters understand that. You will have more trouble with your sectarian thoughts, you see, with religious folks, with church people, than with all others. I ain't write this, I'm just reading. They are very close to the spiritual realm in your consciousness, and therefore more powerful than the more material thoughts. John 7:32. See, so you gotta be firm in your foundation. Whatever it is you stand on, you gotta be standing on it. You gotta be standing on what you stand on, because people be knowing, people who know their shit, they be knowing their shit. And a lot of times people gonna appear just to test you to see is you really standing on yours. You hear me? So don't get highlanded out here. You heard? You will have more trouble with your sectarian thoughts than with all others. They are very close to the spiritual realm in your conscience, and therefore more powerful than the more material thoughts. John 7:32. The old established religious thoughts belonging to the intellectual domain never miss an opportunity to reason with and dispute every true spiritual idea that is presented to the consciousness. This is symbolized by the Pharisee, who would keep only the letter of the law. In other words, these are the type of people and we see this all the time in operation with people not allowed. I see it all the time. I ain't gonna say we. I see it all the time. Manifesting itself through people who not aligned, or who not familiar with my type of energy signature. I'll say it like that. When the spirit of the law is taught, it overthrows the outer forms. When the spirit of the law is taught, it overthrows the outer forms and ceremonies that belong to the letter. So they who are strict and observant in letter usually oppose the spirit of the law. You hear me? The truth that the higher self is always bringing to every part of the individual is missed by the Pharisaical phase of consciousness. That's why I say things like, if you don't listen, you gon' miss it. Walk with me. The Pharisees are exact in performing every little detail of religious acts, but they lack love and mercy, the deeper and higher consciousness of truth. Love and mercy, enlightenment, peace, joy. You see? Compassion, love and mercy. The intellect must be enlightened by the Christ mind in order that it may be saved from the woes that are brought upon it by the reaction of the condemnation that it has bestowed upon others. Y'all don't listen to that, y'all gonna miss it. Karma. In other words, what goes around comes around. Watch how you treat people. You hear me? It never look familiar when it come back and show itself in our lives. It never looked like it belonged to us when it show itself back in our lives. So be careful how you treat people. You hear me? When this enlightenment comes, the spirit of mercy and forgiveness enters into the religious. When this enlightenment comes, the spirit of mercy and forgiveness enters into the religious ideas of the intellectual man, and the reason will then no longer be inclined to condemn others, to judge others, to cast down others. Neither will it lie in wait to assail, meaning attack, the spirit of truth at every point. Nothing. Those who interpret the scriptures literally, those who personalize God, Christ, the devil, and localize heaven and hell, are the Pharisees of the present time. They ain't never did nothing. It's always God, the devil, somebody else. You hear me? But it ain't never them. You hear me? Those are the Pharisees of the present time, showing us how to recognize them. It is the Pharisee in us that causes us to love the material, the form, the external, the outer, and ceremonies of religion, of traditions, of customs. It is the Pharisee in us that refuses to go deep into the consciousness and cleanse the inner man. Put a flashlight on it. You hear me? Put it under the magnifying glass. It's the Pharisee in us that don't want to do that. You see, to go deep into the consciousness and cleanse the inner man. It's the Pharisee in us that is ambitious for shortcuts and temporal honors, and loves to be saluted with high-sounding titles. You hear me? It is the Pharisaical thought that exalts and sustains personality. We can overcome the Pharisee in ourselves by receiving continuously new inspiration from the original fountain of being within us. I am a fountain of youth. Salute to El Patron J. Keep doing the work, little brother. And by refusing to be bound by old, outdated thoughts. Luke 11:42-54. Jesus taught that the kingdom of God would not come in a form whereby it could be observed externally, that men should not look here or there in the outer for it, because it is within. But the old established religious thoughts that belong solely to the intellectual consciousness, the Pharisee, cannot comprehend the inner overcoming and the establishing of truth in consciousness that causes one to become aware of the kingdom. I'm going to back that up so y'all can get it. Remember, your frequency is only as high as your awareness. Jesus taught that the kingdom of God would not come in a form whereby it could be observed externally, that men should not look here or there in the outer for it, because it is within. But the old established religious thoughts that belong solely to the intellectual consciousness, or the Pharisees, or the judgmental types, cannot comprehend the inner overcoming, because they ain't did the work. See, they ain't did the work. So they don't comprehend the inner overcoming. No matter how much they be in church clapping and come on, man. Soon as something happens, soon as something happens that they're not in control of, they don't know what to do. Come on, man. That can't be us no more. So let's talk to it. But the old established religious thoughts that belong solely to the intellectual consciousness, the Pharisees, cannot comprehend this inner overcoming and the establishing of truth in consciousness that causes one to be aware, that causes us to be aware of the kingdom. As soon as a person attains a certain degree of intellectual understanding of truth, he becomes self-righteous. How many of y'all don't seen that before? Soon as somebody, I don't talk so many of them. That's why I don't teach in the ways that I used to. You see? And I learned the hard way, but I learned it through seeing it before I learned it for myself. Cause I say that because I love kung fu movies, the old ones where they be flying through the air and shit like that. I love them type of kung fu movies, and it's always one teacher that end up with a student, you see, that admire the teacher so much, that love the teacher so much, that he his biggest hater. He envy him. He really hate him. Because he admire him so much, till he want to have his place. You learn in this process. You learn. Teach people what they need to know. Never everything you know. You hear me? As soon as a person attains a certain degree of intellectual understanding of truth, he becomes self-righteous, Pharisaical. He is inclined to think that he has all the truth. You know it all. She know it all. And should demonstrate it at once. The fullness of the kingdom in our outer life. I don't been that person before, so I know how to talk to it. And I know how to recognize them in energy, in vibration, in frequency, and in person. You hear me? Let's get there. Let's get to it. However, we must learn to correctly use the beginning of truth that has been revealed to us, that we may become worthy of a place in the kingdom of oneself, let alone to be falsely professing ourselves to have ranks and titles that we really don't have. We ain't did no work to earn them. We ain't sat under no people to earn them, or so forth or so on. Everybody ain't got to, but most do. Those who come into the spiritual understanding, and practice of truth outgrow their old Pharisaical beliefs, that forms and ceremonies and fundamentals. Hold up, let me back that up. Those who come into spiritual understanding and practices of truth outgrow their old self, their old behavior, their old characteristics, their old ways of doing things. That forms and ceremonies are fundamental in the world. as the scribes and the chief priests and the Pharisees of the Jewish people ever sought to trap and destroy Jesus. However, so the old established religious thoughts of the intellectuals are always trying to find discrepancies in the inspirations of the great teacher. Meaning, they're going to try to find the same way they tried to, whatever they try to do to Jesus, they're going to try to do to you. Anybody who working up their tree of life, whether you within oneself, whether you recognize it as such or not, it don't matter. You see, opposition gonna come. You know, people that reflecting old natures of yourself, or the shadow aspects of yourself, gonna appear in your life. but you got the tools to know how to respond or not respond at all. You hear me? They ain't got no business getting reactions out of us that we already learn how to recognize. You hear me? Those who come to the spiritual understanding and practice of truth outgrow the old self. The old man dead and gone, dead and gone. Oh, y'all with me? You see, the same way they tried to trap and destroy Jesus, they will try to trap and destroy us. So know what you're supposed to know and stand on your square with it. You heard? The coldness and the hardness of formal religion, the coldness and the hardness of the world would kill out the understanding of divine love and wisdom if they could. You see, but God has no powers. God has no opposition. So nothing has no power over us. Be God, be goddess. You hear me? Be love, be wisdom. I love y'all. Still is abundant love, light, health, and wholeness. Thanks for it all. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Definitely like and comment and share. Subscribe. If you got some out of this video, put your ones in the comment section. Put your flames in the comment section. I dropped one. You hear me? You hear me? I dropped one. You know who I'm talking to. Yeah, man. We're gonna keep working though. We're gonna keep working. 40 I went in 42 minutes. Feel good for no reason at all. If you would like to donate, my information is in the description. So forth and so on. I appreciate y'all. You hear me? And till we do it again, y'all enjoy.